It's Donna and Barry again with our next client conversation. Joining us today is Sarah Hoff with Hoffhaus Creative out of New York City and Rebecca Lavezzary with TreanorHL in Denver, Colorado. This is a topic that they've actually developed a presentation, done a couple of case studies on, and I was fortunate enough to see them at a couple of regional conferences a couple of years ago as they were beginning to present this material. So we look forward to this conversation today. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, Donna and Barry, for having us.
So as Donna mentioned, you guys did this presentation. You guys gave a presentation on client care programs back in 2016, 2017 at several of the SNPS regional conferences. So why don't you guys tell our viewers a little bit about what brought you to that point? What kind of client care experiences did you bring to the table for that presentation?
Well, I'll start out. So the firm that I was with at the time, Barker Rinker CCAT Architecture, was a small, about 40-person firm focused on community recreation centers, designing those and constructing those around the country. And so we had a little bit of what I would consider a client care program at the time, which was we did project closeout surveys. And so we were able to gather a lot of valuable information from those surveys, but I was really looking to take it to the next level and develop a more comprehensive client care program that would help position the firm with clients ahead of time, give us the opportunity to really learn about our clients and their challenges and be a resource to them before the RFP came out. And then additionally, to do check-ins at the end of each phase of the project to make sure that we were providing the best service that we could to our clients throughout the project, and then continuing on that relationship. Additionally, to get more of our staff involved in the BD process. So when Sarah and I were looking at doing a presentation, we were looking at kind of what the hot topics were in the industry at the time. And since we were in the process of developing that client care program, we thought that would make sense to do a presentation on it, provide kind of a more in-depth case study to give people at least an idea of a structure of what a program like this could entail, and give them something to go back to their firms and kind of tweak and make work for them to implement. And once we made that decision, one of the first things we wanted to do was take a look around the industry and see what other firms were doing. So we decided to do a survey, and I'll let Sarah talk a little bit more about that. She was heavily involved in putting that together.
Yeah, so when Rebecca first approached me with the idea of putting together this presentation, I was thinking about what we were doing at the engineering firm I work for, Ceramian Associates, which is a much larger scale firm than BRS. Being a sub-consultant, we had to, address both clients as architects and clients as end users. We worked in every single market sector. And we worked with small firms, large firms, owners, reps. So we were juggling a lot of different types of clients. And so we were looking strategically at, how we could focus our efforts in certain market sectors that we really wanted to work in, certain clients we really wanted to work with. And so Rebecca and I decided the starting point for deciding whether or not this presentation was a good idea was to survey our peers in the industry. So we surveyed about 150 people. We got about 40 responses. Most of the responses were, we don't have a program. We kind of have a program. Very few firms said, yes, we have a formally structured program. And the ones that did, are large, multi-country, multi-office, multi-sector firms. A lot of the mid-sized and smaller firms didn't really have anything. One funny thing was, we left a kind of an open-ended question, and every single person, even if they had a program, said, please do a session on this topic because we need help and we really want to do this. And so one of the things that we really discovered was that having a formal program was a real differentiator for firms because, nobody was really doing it.
Okay. So give us a general overview of the presentation, just kind of hit the high points. So what was your client care approach and what were you recommending that firms that you saw as best practice?
So we really started at the very beginning and said you have to have a defined strategy and goals before you try to implement a program. I think what we see a lot of times is people say, oh, okay, like you're the BD person, put together a client care program for us and just let us know what we're supposed to do. And that's not really how it becomes successful. It has to be part of the firm's overall culture. So we said, you know, okay, you have to define the strategy. Why do you exist? Who do you want to work with? What are your targets? And then from there, you know, you have to really understand everything from how you're pursuing a client from the very beginning, through the RFP process, through project delivery, through project closeout, you know, through checking in, you know, a year later, you know, doing post-occupancy, things like that. And that it's a really comprehensive program from everybody from, you know, the BD person, the technical staff, your accounting team, your operations team, that everybody really has to be involved in making it successful.
Yeah, and really make it focused on building those relationships with clients, not just trying to sell them something, but providing value to them and being a resource to them was really what we wanted to talk about, focusing these types of programs around.
And really working with your technical folks to not just have that conversation when they're trying to sell a project, but it's that even within the delivery of a project. So it's a mindset, and it's basically backing up your brand as a client service.
Yeah, and
believer.
You know, building a multi-million-dollar building is a very complicated process, and most of our clients didn't go to school for it. So this is a brand new area that they know nothing about, and so just really being that partner to guide them in the early stages of planning and figuring out what they need to do, the steps they need to take to bring that project to fruition. That also helps clients in their professional development to kind of teach them and guide them through that process in the best way possible.
So obviously you guys gave this presentation a number of times. It took a lot of prep to develop it. What were some of the main takeaways from you guys preparing and giving the presentation? You know, what were some of the things that maybe you learned along the way, or maybe even some big surprises that that kind of, you know, hit you upside the head?
Well,
I think, yeah, sorry. I think for me it was, I mean, just doing the survey results, right? I think we didn't think we were doing anything unique at the time. And then to find out that so many firms were not really focusing on client care. And then secondarily, you know, we always talk about there's a bit of a lag in professional services in terms of keeping up with trends. In doing the research, we found a ton of stuff on B2C marketing and client care and client journeys and client mapping and all this stuff, how to develop targets. There was really not a lot of resources on B2B or professional services. So we found ourselves adapting a lot of the material that we found. And I mean, there's a lot of really great stuff. I don't know why there's such a fear of bringing humanity into what we do.
Imagine that.
And for me, one of the questions that I got a lot, especially the first and second time that we were doing this presentation, was, okay, what were the results? And when we first presented it, I was in the first year of implementing it at my firm, so I didn't have a lot of tangible results that I could share with the group. And so it was nice, you know, in the second year when we presented it kind of the third time, to really have those results and be able to share those. Because as Sarah mentioned, it's so important to really think about this strategically and what are you trying to accomplish, and to set some ROIs to those and things that you can really track to say, okay, this is making a difference in our firm and winning new work and building relationships with clients.
You know, you use your experience at BRS as a case study for the presentation. Talk a little bit about the elements of the client care program that were the most difficult to institute, maybe a couple that were the easiest, and talk a little bit about your results. I mean, you shared some of that with us before we started recording, and I think it's impressive when you look at the track record moving forward, what the impact has been to the firm for that. So what were kind of your battles, and then what was easy, and then kind of how did it help the firm?
So I think a couple of the toughest pieces to implement, one was to get other staff involved. You know, everybody's very busy. They're so focused on working on projects that it was hard to get them to take some extra time to build these relationships with clients, do some research, write articles, and things like that. And so I think that was the biggest struggle. As there were people in the firm who were on board and involved in this from the beginning, and they started to move up into leadership roles and be promoted within the firm, then I suddenly had everyone volunteering and wanting to be a part of this. So it was important for that culture to be established within the firm, that this is part of being a leader and running a firm, is building relationships with clients and, you know, winning work. And so that was a struggle, but it was nice to see that kind of culture shift within the firm where it became a focus and really important to everyone. Additionally, with doing check-ins at the end of each phase of the project, that was a little difficult in the beginning to really get project teams on board with doing that. Sometimes it would be a project manager doing it, but sometimes it would be me doing it. And I think sometimes they viewed it as I was trying to kind of check what they were doing and check up on them. And so really helping them see the value and the information and feedback we were receiving from the clients at the end of each phase, and how we could you know, improve our project delivery even more. So that was difficult in the beginning, but as we saw positive impacts to the firm, an example of that is we were hearing feedback that our QA/QC program wasn't maybe as strong as we thought it was, and so we decided to create a role within the firm specifically focused on that. So once everyone was able to see the positive impacts on our project delivery, then they were more willing and excited about having that information at the end of each phase of the project. So those were a couple of struggles. So in terms of meeting our goals, so after this had been implemented for, I think it was by about the end of year 3, we could look back and see that we had met our gross firm revenue goal each of the last 2 years, which was $10 million. And then we were able to involve 50% of our staff in BD and marketing efforts, which was a huge change in the beginning. It was, you know, a handful of principals and then the marketing team. So to really see half of the firm involved in marketing and BD was so exciting. And then additionally, we were able to increase our pursuit hit rate from 33% to 65%. So that really showed that we were, you know, positioning ourselves with clients, really understanding the challenges our clients were facing and addressing those in our proposal and interview responses to be more successful.
That is awesome. What a great success story, and having those metrics to back it up is absolutely important. So Sarah, so I'm curious, how has this notion of client care, your presentation, your work at Cerami, affected your work with what we're doing now with Hoffhaus Creative?
So it's funny, I was thinking about how it affects what I'm doing, and I was thinking about me personally and how I pursue clients. You know, I guess because of the nature of my business, but I'm not selling a service, I'm selling me. So I have the ability to look at who I want to work with. I look at people and firms that I respect, that I think either need a little bit of coaching or guidance, or that I think are doing really admirable stuff and I want to know more about what they're doing. And then I just build relationships from there, and I see, you know, okay, you're struggling with this, how can I help you? You know, I focus a lot on strategy. I think the strategic part of what firms are doing is more important than anything else. If they know what it is that they want to do. They know what they want to pursue. They know their values and why they exist. It makes their firm more successful. It makes their projects more successful. It makes people want to work there. So that's really where I focus. And I think there's so many firms out there that are doing such phenomenal work that I want them to be able to look at their clients and say, I'm a good person, we're a good firm, we believe in what you're doing and we believe in what we're doing and we'd like to do it together.
That's awesome, because, you know, in our last conversation with Craig Galati, he talked about, you know, we asked him, like, what, you know, if you could go back and start over your client service plan, what would you do differently? And his response was that he wishes that he would have been more thoughtful and intentional about which clients they decided to engage with, because there were some that just didn't align with the client service plan that they were, you know, the client service culture that was really key to LGA. And so it sounds like you've obviously taken that kind of approach to heart, and you're thinking about that as you move forward.
Yeah, that's always the struggle. I mean, you want to get work, right? You want to get paid. You want to, you know, so it's hard sometimes to draw a line and say, like, I will not cross this line. You know, I think when you look at it from the fact that there's always potential for something, right? Like, somebody might not necessarily align with your goals yet, but maybe throughout the project that you're delivering, they'll get there. I think then that's, you know, that makes the project valuable. Where, you know, yeah, at some point you have to draw a line and say, like, that doesn't fit, you know, what we care about and who we care about. So we're going to not do that.
Yeah. And it's hard whether you're a consultant or whether you're an architect, an engineer, or a builder, at any point in time, having that conversation with the client that says, hey, you know, for whatever reason, I'm not for you. Or, you know, and it's tough to say no to work. But again, I think if 2008, 2009, 2010 didn't teach us anything else, it was there's a way to survive, but still positioned to thrive throughout that too, and remain true to who you are. So, and I think that serves you in the long run. It kind of goes back to what your brand is and what people know you as. And if you stray too far from that, then they get confused and they don't know what to think anymore. So there's that. So Rebecca, you transitioned from BRS to Trainer about 9 months ago. So do they have a client care program, or is that something that you're looking at as a possibility implementing there?
Yeah, so yeah, it's been about 9 months, and coming on board, you know, jumping right in and learning about the firm. It's a larger firm with multiple offices and multiple market sectors that we focus on. So we're broken up into studios. Each studio has a particular market sector that they focus on, and their clients are a little bit different within each studio, and they're doing different levels of a client care program. You know, we're really focused on now creating personas and client capture plans. So that's a first step, but, you know, I really see the value in having a comprehensive client care program. So that's definitely something that we'll be focused on. It's, you know, a little bit of a shift and change in creating a structure that works for each studio and particular client type. So that's a new challenge in creating this comprehensive program at TreanorHL, but I'm excited about it, and we will definitely be doing it in the next year or so.
Yeah, you gotta get your feet wet a little bit. So, so we could obviously spend all day talking with you guys about this, because you guys have done you're a wealth of knowledge, and you've done a ton of research. But what advice would each of you individually give someone that is, you know, in a small firm, medium firm, big firm, whatever it might be, that's looking to start a client service program, implement a, you know, client service culture? What recommendations would you give them?
Well, first off, I would say definitely do it. I think it's such a value to both a firm and to a marketer's personal professional development. I saw, as I started to have these conversations with our clients, I was really able to build relationships with them. Some of them have become my friends, and that's of value to the firm, but it also makes me more valuable to the firm. And so I would say definitely go for it, do it, you know, research, see what's out there, talk to people, especially through SMPS, and kind of get an idea of what people are doing and take pieces of that you can implement at your own firm. And then I think Sarah and I talked about this a lot, that it's so important to have a champion within the firm on the operations side, because when it gets to really getting some of the other staff involved, it needs to be all hands on deck and everybody supporting that this is really the culture of our firm, so that people see the value and getting involved and are excited about it. So find someone at the on the operations side who can be your champion and work with you in developing this.
What about you, Sarah?
Make sure you have a strategy first. You know, identify.
You mean you can't just jump out and do it?
Yeah, no, just get the BD person and you know, get to it. Yeah, you know, have a strategy in place and develop some goals. You know, what do you want to achieve by having a client care program? You know, who are you targeting? Why are you targeting them? And also start small. You know, pick one client and one pursuit first and kind of test out your plan. You know, what I see a lot of times is people are like, okay, this is our new initiative. This is what we're doing now. All hands on deck. We're going to target 100 clients, you know, and then a month later, they're like, okay, so where are we? You don't want to do that. You're not setting yourself up for success that way.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, pick one first, see how it goes, tweak your plan, tweak how you're doing things, and then, you know, then do 5, then do 10.
Yeah, the old adage of keep it simple, stupid, Kiss, rather than, you know, because if you say you're going to do 100, what are the, it's kind of like, you know, to do action items off a strategic plan. You know, if you say you've got 100, yeah, that ain't gonna happen on any. So it's, you know, start small and work up. So anyway, well, guys, we've enjoyed the conversation. Look forward to hearing more from you as you expand on this topic, and particularly Rebecca, as you go through and become more entrenched at TreanorHL and help them along that path and lead them along that path as well. So with that, thank you guys very much. I hope you have a good rest of the day and look forward to chatting with you all later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.